And I began asking some big questions about life. What is it that can lead a man to treat a woman as nothing but a thing for his selfish pleasure? Not that women don't also do it to men, but I'm a guy and I was thinking about myself. And ladies, don't even think that you don't know how to use and manipulate us as much as we know how to use and manipulate you. You do. And you know you have a power. You know you have a power. And this culture is grooming you as women to use that power over men to get what you want. And we wound one another and hurt one another, and the pain is so deep. We keep getting drunk so we don't have to look at the pain. Here's a challenge to all of us, myself included. Take the numbing agents out of your life so that you can actually feel what's really going on in your heart. Take the booze out of your life. Now, I love a good beer. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't treat a beer as a way of getting numb to what's really going on. Noise is a big numbing agent. How often do we just have the iPod on, those little earbuds, and we can't even be in the car without listening to music or whatever? And I love music, as you can all tell by now. I love music. But sometimes we need quiet so we can hear what's really going on in our hearts. Noise can be a numbing agent. The challenge is to remove the numbing agent so we can actually feel what's going on and pay attention to the pain, because it's very instructive. Put your hand on a hot stove, ouch! The pain is instructive. But if you're numb, you're not going to get the lesson, are you? And you're really going to hurt yourself more and more and more. Oftentimes, what we call love, 1B, if it's subjected to searching, critical examination, it turns out to be, contrary to all appearances, only a form of using another person. What is authentic love? Here's one telltale sign, 1D. Authentic love does not say, I long for you as something good for me, but rather it says, I long for what is good for you. And I'm ready and willing to sacrifice anything and everything I have and everything I am to uphold your good, to uphold your dignity. And that kind of love, you can't tell me it's not worth dying for. That kind of love is the love that we're looking for. That kind of love reaches deep inside and lifts me up and affirms me as a true person. Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So lift me up, quench my desire. All you got to do is turn on the radio and you start hearing this cry of the heart. Let's take a look at this chart on page 18, the differences between lust and love. Just like we looked at license and freedom, license is the counterfeit of true freedom. Lust is the counterfeit of true love. Lust is directed towards self-gratification. Please me. Love is directed towards self-donation. This is my body given for you. Lust treats others as objects. It sees the body as something. Love treats others as subjects. And that means a person with dignity and free will of his or her own. And I'm not going to mow that person down to get what I want. I'm going to respect that person's freedom. Because this person is not an object, merely an object. This person is a subject who has freedom. And so I see the other body not just as something, but as someone. Lust sees the body as something merely biological. Love sees the body as something also theological, as a sign of a great mystery. I saw the sign, and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. What is right? What is wrong? Give me a sign. You know what the sign is? Our own bodies. Our own bodies are a sign of the very divine plan of love. And we got to learn to read the language of our bodies. Our bodies are speaking. Our bodies are singing. Our bodies have a language. They proclaim something. Our bodies have a code written right in there by God. Maybe we could call it the divinity code. But we got to learn to decipher this divinity code. And if we do, we will learn the truth about love. That's going to be our whole next presentation. Discerning and deciphering that code written in the body so we can live the truth of love. Back to our chart here. Lust grasps at fleeting pleasure and will use other people to get it. But love yearns for eternal joy and is ready and willing to wait for its satisfaction. The reason we grasp at other people, the reason we use other people, because we're not willing to wait for authentic love to blossom and mature. That takes time. Lust enslaves us to our own passions. As we were saying earlier, we see how this is related to our whole talk on freedom. If you can't say no, you don't know how to love. Love demands that we learn how to say no to lust. And yes to the true dignity of the person. Love is what liberates us, sets us free from those compulsions to use. Love sets us free to really honor the person. I don't want to push your buttons. Remember that story? Now, I'm not perfectly free. I still got a long way to go, but we make progress in stages and steps in our lives. Lust manipulates and controls people. As I said earlier, if you can't control your own desires, you will inevitably use and manipulate others to satisfy them. But authentic love respects the freedom of the other. Even if that person's freedom wants something different than you want. You have to honor and respect and submit yourself to that person's freedom without imposing your will on the other. Lust aims itself at any pleasing outlet. Hey, she's hot. I'll take some of that. She's hot too. Hey, I'll get her too. Hey, let's get up. Hey, I'll take you and you and you. Lust is just looking for any pleasing outlet to gratify itself. Love is reserved for the one and only and is directed at that one and only. And this is why, and this is not said to wag fingers at anybody, but we got to take an honest look at what pornography is doing to our minds and our hearts. Pornography is a wrecking ball to authentic love. Why? Because it does nothing but foster that lust that must die if we're ever to learn how to love. The very thing that has to die for us to learn how to love, pornography is throwing gasoline on the fire. Not the holy fire I was talking about earlier, but this is a very unholy fire. Lust is the counterfeit of love. And this is why any woman who is in touch with her heart, if she is with a man who's addicted to porn, this guy has incapacitated himself to love you. And vice versa. Porn's not just a man's issue. This is why it stings so much. It's committing adultery in the heart. The woman, and it can go the other way too, but just for the sake of example, I'm a guy, I think as a guy, sorry, that's just the way it is. But a woman who's dating a guy who's caught up in porn, deep in her heart, she's realizing, he doesn't love me. He's just looking for any outlet, any pleasing outlet. What am I to him? Have you heard the expression that some women are using these days? Real women in a pornographic culture amount to nothing in the man of the mind who's addicted to porn. The real woman becomes just bad porn. Because there's no real woman who can actually look like the women in porn. And so a lot of men, when they're in bed with their girlfriend, they're actually fantasizing about porn because she doesn't come close. But she's just an outlet for me to masturbate to the fantasy that I have in my head. Is this love? Have we had enough yet? Have we had enough of what the culture is selling us and calling love? None of this is said to wag fingers. I can speak to this stuff because I've been there. I have no stones to throw. This is not a message of condemnation. This is a message of salvation, of hope, of healing. If we trade in our counterfeit $1 million bill, guess what we got? Not condemnation. We get salvation. We get the real $1 million bill. If we trade in our greasy chicken nuggets, you know what we get? Not condemnation, a banquet.